GovHack is, for me, it's a community event. It's being able to get together geeks, designers, developers, cartographers, just anybody and everybody who wants to make a difference for government data and use government data to do cool things. That's what everybody around here is doing. And what's interesting is Australia's really got the potential to do some really exciting stuff because of its size. 22 million people. We have 8 different cities doing this event. So as far as I know, this is the first event of its kind where you have so much of the nation involved. You know, there's events like this in the States, but it's not as widespread. So there's a real opportunity here for people to do really exciting things for this country that wouldn't be able to be done in the UK or Europe or in the US.
We've moved away from using a data set to more, we're hoping to create a new output for any data sets. Our intentions are to 3D print some data. I would say we're trying to solve the problem of data being boring and inaccessible.
So the data set we're using is a population data set talking about the growth of Victoria, I guess between 2007 and 2027, so a 20-year growth projection for population in different suburbs across Victoria.
I'm working on a visualization of the data from the Department of Sustainability and the Environment. They have an enormous amount of data about whale species that live in Australian waters, where they live, which ones are endangered and things like that. And I'm going to try and make an app that visualizes that data in a compelling way. So these are the maps from the Department of Sustainability's website, and I've put them onto a 3D scene where I can switch the distribution of the different whale species around. And then I'm going to make 3D models of the whales based on these little toys that I got at Melbourne Museum. And I'm going to try and put them swimming in the scene. This is a humpback, and this is a southern right.
It took about half an hour to print this little object. I could have printed it faster, but it's much like a desktop printer. If you print really fast, you get a kind of poor job, so it's worth taking the time to print a really nice object. So here we have a graph of the illegal boat immigrants since 1976 right round through to 2012. So you can see here we've got 1976 with a measly 101 immigrants, and as we go round, not a lot changes up until about the early 2000s and then continue through, and right here we have this massive spike being 2012.
So what we're planning to do with the data is produce audio from it. We're going to use the data to alter music, to try and, I guess, provide a different way to visualize the data set for people who may not necessarily actually be able to, see. So we're going to do this by using a couple of technologies. So we're going to be using Ruby, first of all, to manipulate the data set into, I guess, a format that we're hoping to use, and then use a framework called Open Frameworks.
I'm a solo team, so I'm trying to do everything myself. I'm doing art and programming all on my own. I'm using a program called 3D Studio to make models of them, and I'm going to animate them swimming and put textures on them and put them in my data visualization. So I'm trying to make the data beautiful. At the moment, it's just a list of maps and figures about the whales, and I want to make it into an interactive experience where you see the whale swimming, you see where they live, and you can read information about them in a more visual way. And possibly maybe even put in some of the whale songs if I have time.
Beautiful data is data that means something to the general public. So although the nerds, the technicians, we might think data is beautiful, until the public can actually see it, it really isn't. It isn't that special.
Yeah, well, beautiful data is about data being easily understood by everyone and be able to find actionable insight. So anyone should be able to look at that bit of data and say, wow, I know exactly what that is. Oh my God, I've got to do something. Oh wow, that's so interesting. To me, that's beautiful. Beautiful is simplicity.
Beautiful data is data that you can see and relate to. So when you look at data and you say, oh, I understand what that means to me. So it's personalization as well as usefulness.
I think in 5 years' time there would be a lot more APIs available instead of just raw data dumps available.
I think in about 5 years we'll see much more use of open data for really interesting citizen projects. There's a lot of data that's currently locked up behind scientific paywalls or is locked up in PDFs, which is becoming a lot more available. And in a few years, I'm sure that's going to be getting used much more and much more available for bigger research and mashups and the sort of research that happens when you can get data from very different fields showing you patterns.
The thing for me, I think finding those actionable insights, I think should be free for the public. I think corporations should pay for it. The public need to be able to find a wealth of good in that information to be able to change the future of Australia.